This laptop right here, it's what's been powering this entire channel since October of 2024, and I've already hit a wall with it. Let's talk about that. I purchased the M3 Pro so that I could edit on the go. I've been traveling more and I also needed a device to come with me. I opted for the base model when I bought this thing because my workflow wasn't as demanding at the time. And even though I was aware of its limitations like 18 gigs of RAM and only a 512 gig SSD, I was still heavily under the impression that this thing could last me almost a lifetime if I really wanted it to. Come January of this year though, I attended CES in Las Vegas and Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked in San Jose, and I noticed some problems starting to creep up. At this time, I switched to shooting all of my videos in log so I can color grade and get my own look. And because of this, project files for these videos went from being like 20 to 30 gigabytes to nearly 300 and more. And yeah, with the 512 gig SSD inside of my MacBook Pro, let's just say I was being a little optimistic. I've had to carry around a bunch of these little SSDs. This works, but it's not exactly perfect. They get warm, they slow down, and I'm constantly just having to remember which video is on what, and it became a nightmare when it came to like file managing. Now, on the other hand, there's RAM. I'm being very serious when I say this. I've watched a ton of videos about this before I even decided to purchase it, and I thought a lot about purchasing this model before I did. It just so happened that I got it on a really good deal when I was in Massachusetts. You know, I heard all the time, like 18 gigs of RAM is enough. Apple Silicon is just so well optimized. All these Mac apps like Final Cut are just fantastic. And I think deep down, I knew that this would be a bottleneck, but I didn't have the nerve to stomach an upgrade since Apple's cost on RAM is insane. So I did what a lot of people would do in this case, and I settled for a machine that probably wasn't best fit for me, even though at the time it really did seem like it. I wasn't thinking about the future at all. Before we get into it though, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. I just want to say thank you so much, like from the bottom of my heart, for all the support that you've shown me. We are well over halfway to 100,000 subscribers. It doesn't even seem real, so you watching this video is support enough. Hopefully you stick to the end, and if you enjoy it, a like and a comment goes a long way too. I will say though that my experience with the base model M3 Pro was like 80% flawless. I'm okay with waiting a little bit for my footage to import, and I understand that having some motion graphics on a video will slow down the timeline. I'm not like super picky, but through a lot of times I had to be very mindful of what I was doing. I couldn't have applications like Discord or Photoshop open whilst I was using Final Cut, otherwise I'd have to force close them to do anything. And there was one day, about a week or so ago, I was using an application called Handbrake. I was converting footage that I'd recorded on OBS on my PC. It was just a different file format, so it needed to be converted before I can actually play it back and edit it on the Mac. Because of this, I've experienced the worst lockup that I've ever had with this MacBook. It was just insane. I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't move my mouse. I couldn't close out of applications. The entire thing was just like at a standstill until Handbrake was completed. And that entire thing took about 2.5 or 3 hours. It was like insanely loud, getting insanely hot, not something that I've ever seen happen on this MacBook before. But the point is, that was the final straw for me. So I ended up opening up Apple's certified refurbished website in a fit of rage, to be honest, and I was actually kind of shocked at what I saw. There was an M4 Pro 14-core CPU, 20-core GPU model with 48 gigs of unified memory, a 2TB SSD, and with nanotexture for 3,700 Canadian dollars. New from Apple, this machine is going for well over $1,000 more. If I was buying new and going with the spec, I really don't think that I'd have the balls to go and pay $225 additional dollars for nanotexture, but I will talk about nanotexture as a whole a little bit later in the video because it's something that I was very curious about. If this spoils anything, I am not buying a Mac without nanotexture literally ever again. Wow, same computer. Anyways, some key differences between the two. There's not a whole lot, but we'll get that out of the way before we actually talk about this purchase, just for like comparison's sake. So obviously the M3 Pro was the base model, so it had the 11-core CPU, 14-core GPU, and the one that I purchased has the 14-core CPU with the 20-core GPU. And for RAM, there's now 48 gigs versus the 18 that I had previously. And the memory bandwidth is nearly doubled from 150 gigabytes a second to 273 gigabytes a second, which is just insane. So when it comes to like memory dependent tasks and applications, on paper, this thing should be about twice as fast. Now, obviously there is also a jump in SSD size, but also in SSD speed, going from 512 gigs to 2 terabytes. Oh my God. It's a lifesaver. If the cost to upgrade this from Apple's website wasn't so like ridiculously expensive, it's something that I would just recommend to everyone, but unfortunately, this is the life for most people. But when it comes to the display though, funnily enough, they actually have the exact same display besides the nano texture coating, but the M3 Pro can only do 600 nits in full screen SDR, whereas the M4 Pro can do 1000. There's an app that I found out about quite literally like 10 to 15 minutes ago on the M3 Pro. And yeah, you can get this display all the way from its 600 nit to 1000 nit in SDR. So if you were planning on upgrading for like the base brightness, just download that app. It doesn't make sense to me, but there is one. That being said, all that tells me is that these are the exact same panel. It's just that Apple's done a couple of tweaks under the hood with software to unlock it on the M4 Pro, which is very sneaky. But I will say the color accuracy on the M4 Pro model is actually better than the color accuracy on the M3 Pro, and that's not including like nano texture and stuff like that. Now, there is also a decent upgrade to a 12 megapixel center stage camera on the new M4 Pro, and this new one is a little bit lighter. It's like 0.1 kilogram lighter. It's not a difference that you're actually going to be able to tell in person realistically. Aside from like the performance improvements, I think there is one really big upgrade that not a lot of people really talk about when it comes to the M4 Pro. There's a big difference in bandwidth from the M4 Pro to the M3 Pro with its USB ports, because this one, the M4 Pro, uses Thunderbolt 5, whereas this uses Thunderbolt 4. Now, this is huge because this only gets updated every 5 years or so. So when things like Thunderbolt 5 SSDs or docks become more common, with the M4 Pro, you're actually getting a massive improvement in its bandwidth. Point being though, is that while yes, this is newer and obviously it's gonna last you a little bit longer, when it comes to like a quality of life difference, I really do think having Thunderbolt 5 is important. I really don't think that if you do work professionally, you should be buying an M3 or lower spec because of Thunderbolt 5. But that leads kind of like into this. I could run a ton of benchmarks on these two or pretend to recreate problems that I've had with the M3 Pro. Now, I'm not here to sell you on this MacBook, so I don't really care about telling you how much better this thing is over this one. But if you own the M3 Pro and you're looking at making a jump all the way over to the M4 Pro, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense, especially if you're someone that's just doing things like spreadsheets or very basic graphic design processes and maybe even some photo editing in Lightroom as like a hobbyist. It just doesn't make sense from like a performance perspective. The gain here isn't like super significant to be able to justify it just for the performance alone. If I wasn't making any content or doing any work professionally and like doing things with brands and whatnot, I wouldn't even have considered this machine. Like, this is not a purchase that I wanted to make, to be clear. Like, I purchased this because I had to. Personally, I would be better off outside of YouTube with something like an M4 Air. It's actually a laptop that I really wish could work for me because the size and the weight and the battery life and the performance is really good. But that M4 MacBook Air, for some instances, is actually faster than the M3 Pro, and for a lot of people could just be a more compelling device to upgrade to. If like you're thinking Pro is your only option just because you want to buy like the best of the best, I would heavily encourage you to just look through some more videos and find out what actually is the best for you. Anyways, I'm getting like super sidetracked here. So let's talk about the M4 Pro for a minute, and I'll tell you some things that I've actually noticed. God, I can't believe that I've fallen for this trap. Like, if there was a model out there at the time that I've purchased without it, I think I would have just saved the money and have not gotten it. But this is why being adventurous sometimes could pay off a little bit, because I'm not going back. I had a couple of concerns, don't get me wrong. I had the same concerns that probably all of you guys thinking about nano texture have. I thought that it would be washed out and lack a lot of contrast. I thought that the text clarity would be super soft since I'm really used to using like those matte screen protectors. I've kind of just had this expectation of how it would work. And I was also very scared about how durable it might be. That being said though, my concerns were valid. I mean, I use this thing to make content. I want the screen to look good. But man, was I ever wrong for having these concerns in the first place? First off, yes, there is less perceived contrast, but I did a lot of research into this while waiting for it to arrive, and hear me out for a second. Have you ever actually seen true black in real life? No, because it doesn't really exist. Like, there are paints and things that are like chemically created, like Vanta Black, which removes 99% of visible light or something insane. And the reason why those look so intriguing, just like as an outsider, or if you were to see it in person or through your camera, it's because stuff like that doesn't exist in the real world. It's like an anomaly. So why is it that on a professional display, something that you would use for professional work, you would want something to have this like infinite contrast ratio that doesn't exist in the real world? Yeah, technically it's a better display, but it might not be better for the application that you want to use it for. Actually, from what I've looked into, not to like convince myself which one was better or anything, just to learn more about it, having a display that is glossy and can represent like almost pitch black is not actually ideal for color work. And when you work on a glossy display, it could look great on other glossy displays, but if someone's viewing it on a matte panel, it will look off or different. But on the other side of things, if you did work on a matte display and you did a really good job at grading it, it would look good on all glossy and matte displays. I promise I'm not just pulling this all out of my ass or anything. I will link references and sources to this in the video if you want to see it. It's gonna be in the description. Point is, yes, this is not as dark as the glossy version is, so there is less contrast. But just to reiterate and simplify things, that doesn't mean it's worse, and in some cases, for a lot of people, it could actually be better. In fact, something that I found was very interesting is that not only is this MacBook, the M4 Pro, more color accurate than the M3 Pro, but the nano texture display is actually more color accurate than the glossy M4 Pro display, which, I don't know. I know this was all a lot. I know you guys probably don't care. I wanted to answer this because I feel like everyone just points a light at the thing and says, look, it can reflect light. Obviously though, that is the largest difference between these two displays. Keep in mind though that both of these are using the exact same glass panel. The only difference is that there's microscopic laser etched grooves on the nano texture, which allows the light, rather than just bouncing directly off the display, to kind of like refract in different arrangements so that you don't actually see that visible harsh outline of that light source, and it becomes a little more diffused. And I have to say, it's actually insane. It's super hard to film a display with all of these lights around me. And it can be annoying to use my laptop in like a hotel with a really big window, in like a hotel lobby with a chandelier and pot lights all over the place. If you do live in a bright environment or you do choose to take your laptop out, it does actually make a really big difference. At the end of the day, at least there's an option. I just wish that this option with the nano texture wasn't an additional $225. I get it, you gotta paywall your best features. But yeah, I guess despite the hate that I've given this expensive upgrade in the past, I was totally wrong about it, and I think that's okay to come clean about. And like about the whole refurbished thing, because that's kind of like the point of this video. Look, when it comes to most things, I actually don't like the idea of buying something refurbished or used, especially electronics. I know that it's better for the environment and whatnot, and I understand that there's a lot of savings that could be had, but it's also a very tricky thing. It's why I've never really explicitly suggested any of you to go out and buy open box or refurbished products in the past. Yes, you can get a great deal, you can save a ton of money. It's just that not everyone is a great person, and not everything is black and white, and not every store is honest. It's one of those things that, like, if this is an investment that you're making in yourself or for your business, I really don't think that you should take the gamble. But I'd argue Apple is different. And believe it or not, their certified refurbished program is actually better than buying a device new. Now, it's not just me that thinks like this, by the way, and there's good reason for that. So look at it like this. These refurbished units could either be brand new and unopened returns since they don't resell them as new. They could be within the return window, which is the 14-day time frame. They've been inspected and had their shells replaced and their battery swapped. And it could also just be a dud or defective unit that's been looked at on a component level and has been refurbished and has had everything replaced. Now, Apple checking these devices individually and inspecting them for sale is much better than them just checking out a whole batch of devices and going, okay, this is ready for purchase, you know, these are good. This, funnily enough, almost guarantees that you're gonna get a perfect unit, and if not, you could just go back to the Apple Store and do an exchange. And worst case scenario, you have a 1-year limited time warranty, which Apple is genuinely really flexible about. You also just have the ability to purchase Apple Care, which you could do either at checkout or within 60 days of buying this device. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is a brand new computer. As spec'd, this was 4,749 Canadian dollars from apple.ca. Refurbished, it was 3,719. And when taxes are considered, I saved like $1,163, which is crazy. That's almost enough to buy Apple's Pro Display XDR stand. Holy, that's actually really sad when you think about it. All in, this was a fantastic deal. And the only problem with certified refurbished is that you kind of need to watch it for a bit. It is surprising to me that the M4 series was already on there. It really caught me off guard. But if you're looking for a specific spec, it's probably not going to be the easiest thing for you. You might have to compromise in some way or spend a little bit more because they might not have what you're looking for. That being said though, and I'm not trolling about this, if the savings were only 10% of what I'd saved, I still would have bought the certified refurbished unit over the brand new unit. Anyways though, I hope you enjoyed me kind of just going through these nuances and stuff like that. If you want to see a follow-up on this video where I actually talk about the performance while I actually talk about how this thing works in my day-to-day life, I am planning on bringing this to Taiwan with me, where I'm going to be going to Computex. Everything that I figure out with that device there, I will film it and I will kind of circle back if that's something that you want to see. And I also have some really cool apps for the Mac that I use if you'd like me to share them in a future video, things that I use for like productivity and stuff. So if that's something you think you're going to be interested in, let me know as well. And anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've watched all the way through, drop a laptop emoji in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and sub on your way out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.